Soldiers of Shoot, we are back with Hollywood Edwards, myself, and with me, the Electric City Saint. Raw ratings, hour 3, 1.8 million. For an average, what was the average? 2.1? Or 2?
Yeah, it was something real bad. I think it was 2.1 or 2.2. And I've said it a million times, I'm not a big numbers guy as far as the ratings go, but either way, you have to acknowledge that that's very, very bad.
It is the lowest non-holiday episode ever.
And what's even crazier about it, you go back to the late 90s when WCW was around. Tony Schiavone would go on air and reveal what was going to happen on Raw. He gave away the match, the results. They still got way... This is how sad this is. They still got way higher ratings, even though WCW, before Raw would go on air, would actually reveal who the hell won the matches. Mm-hmm. How sad is that?
Yep. And we're talking viewership. We're not talking ratings points. Because I can hear some people out there go, no, they were getting 2 8s and 3 2s. And no. We're talking million viewers.
Maybe about a year ago.
Dude, here's the big question to you. Does Vince care? Does he care?
I will say no. Because I think he's too distracted with the XFL right now. And I still think, regardless of what anybody says, I think in his mind, he doesn't fear AEW, but I think people that are in that company right now, they're shitting their pants. I think they're very much worried about the upcoming, show that they're going to be having probably in October or November, whenever the hell it starts up, because you're talking 2.1 right now. That could easily turn into less than 2 million easily once AEW starts up.
I think it's going to turn into under 2 million in a couple weeks.
It sounds like it's going that way.
I mean, they dropped, I think they had a 2.9 million people for the show after Raw, or after WrestleMania. And that's, 4 weeks ago? So they almost, it was 2.1. It went from 2.9 to 2.1 million. So 2.1 million this week, they almost lost a full million people. They're right there. They're right on the cusp. And that's in a month.
Yeah, and it really scares me, too. I know we said it a million times on the show. This is practically the Firefly Funhouse review show. Yeah. But seriously, it worries me because guess what? I'm pretty sure that was the segment that kicked off hour 3. That really worries me.
So he's gonna get the blame.
I'm not 100% sure if that's true or not because I obviously, like I said, I didn't watch it. But when I read results from the sounds, but that was basically what the segment that kicked off hour 3. Now, I don't know if they did that 2 weeks in a row, but if they did, and
wait. I have to correct you. Last night, go ahead. It wasn't hour 3 because I wasn't watching that late. So I really think it was around 9:30.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure though the first segment they aired, I think, was hour 3. Wasn't
okay. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about last week.
But still, when that's in the middle of the show like that, you have to worry a little bit because that's, like you said, that's when the drop off comes, and I worry that people see something like that, think it's corny or goofy looking. That's going to really get a lot of people out of there as well, unfortunately. So, like you said, I hope you don't get the blame for this, but it could happen, and maybe that would be the end of this whole storyline right off the bat.
Well, let me ask you this: if you don't think he cares, when does he care? Because it wasn't this low when he made the change from gimmicky stuff to, we are no longer going to insult your intelligence with good guys and bad guys. And then he handed the show over to Russo. They're beyond that point now. So I got to think, I don't know who's going to save this show. I don't know how they're going to save this show. But we've been talking for years. It is a trend, and I keep saying it on the channel here. It's a trend. We've been saying it. We noticed it, 4 years ago, and it's trending down. Think back from Daniel Bryan, his championship run and down, 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 down. Now, there's not much more they can go. I mean, they're getting slaughtered.
Yeah, and didn't their stock, like, wasn't there a big thing like with their stock dropping recently too? I mean, I know it probably went right back up. Like, it wasn't that big of a thing to be alarmed about. You know, they've been in business all these years. Like, a lot of people are in the mindset, oh, they're never going to go away or anything. I mean, if that continues, eventually, it's still a possibility no matter what. Like, if they're not making no money there.
Yeah, well, it's not only that too. To me, it's Vince's pride and ego. He's got to be.
Right.
He's got to be thinking to himself after he got the Nielsen's. He's probably thinking, "Goddamn, pal, it's never been this low." Because that's what he should be saying. Because it never has been this low. I gotta think he's gonna have to do something drastic here. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some major news tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm thinking at some point they're gonna really have to change something around here, and I have some breaking news here that maybe might help them out a tiny bit.
Ooh, okay.
Apparently, according to Dana White, he said that Brock Lesnar told him he's done, he's retiring. So he is, from the sounds of it, I mean, this is being reported by ESPN and Ariel Helwani, you know, who's a big UFC guy. Obviously, he's done commentary for them and everything else. Apparently, according to this, he is not going to be fighting in the UFC anytime soon. They've pretty much said he's done. So maybe that might help them. He might actually stick around with WWE then, because this pretty much says that they're, you know, barring any kind of last-minute Hail Mary, the fight with Daniel Cormier isn't happening. From the sounds of it, they're gonna have Cormier versus Stipe Miocic.
Okay, so let's relate that to wrestling then. For everybody that was saying, you know, the Seth Rollins story, and it was a reflection of the real story for the fans. They wanted the title back on Raw. Well, they got the title back on Raw. Do you think there's a portion of that audience that said, well, no more Brock, so screw it, I'm not watching?
Yeah, I think I know maybe people might not think it, but he's the draw. Either way you look at it, there's a lot of people that, you know, see the legitimacy of him and see how badass he is, and they do want to, you know, they might just tune in for him, or maybe they might just tune in for like a Ronda Rousey, somebody like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I know, you know, WWE probably hasn't done the best job of bringing in MMA fans, but there have been some that, you know, they have been able to garner. I know me and AC are, you know, two of them, obviously.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked at the ratings numbers. Like, to the point that he's not doing anything about it. Like, it doesn't shock me that they're down this low, but I'm shocked that he hasn't done anything. Like, we know he's brought Bruce Pritchard in. He's brought Team TNA there with Jeff Jarrett and all to be agents and producers, but man, it's like history's repeating again. Here we are, the old crew's back together. Like, what's next? Oh, gotta switch to PG-13 or TV-14. You know, we gotta hire that Russo guy. Like, are we gonna do this again? Because this is the same thing that happened in '95. They got down to that point, and he went, "Holy shit, I gotta do something." And the next week, he said, "We're no longer gonna insult your intelligence." I wonder if we're going to have a moment like that again.
Yeah, I almost wonder that too, because as you just said, it almost seems like wrestling, especially WWE, does go in these cycles like this every couple years, and I think something's got to give here sooner. They're in real trouble. And like you said, the fact that as of right now that he's not really making a big deal about it, you know, despite being this, you know, aggressive, prideful businessman, you know, who's, you know, this is his livelihood, you know, but despite all that, it doesn't seem like he's really putting up a big of a fight here. He's kind of just taking it on the backside, you know?
Right. And
very strange. It
is. And that's what I mean. Like, he's not putting up a fight, because you can see in the booking, we basically just said, I mean, they were kind of, some of the angles are carbon copies of the night before and the week before. And it's like, man, you're phoning it in, and look at the result. And again, you can, you know, have that thought that, Well, Bray Wyatt's video is up to 3 million. Well, that's great, but TV advertisers and networks don't give a shit about your YouTube numbers, you know? And that's the thing that I don't get about WWE. It's like they have the quarterly meetings and they're talking about their social media and oh, it's great, it's great. Yeah, but again, TV network advertisers don't care about that stuff. Obviously they don't. So, do you see any news coming out, you know, for the rest of the week that some major shakeup backstage is going to happen? Whether that's a Vince Russo or if that's I don't know, maybe he fires most of the writers and whittles it down to just him and Pritchard and Jarrett and they're writing the show. Whatever. Do you think we'll see anything major this week?
For their sake, I seriously hope so. But I'm going to say probably not. I think they're just going to keep coasting by. They're not going to have a care in the world. And then come October, once AEW starts, they're going to be dipping below 2 mil.
Mm-hmm.
Just like that.
You know, not to mention...
Seriously, it feels that way. I think even WrestleMania season, it just feels like they're just coasting by. They're like, as you said, you said it perfectly, phoning it in. That's what I would just describe as the way the presentation and the booking has been lately.
Yep.
I mean, it's sad. I want to enjoy it. I don't go into something saying, oh, I want to be miserable the whole fucking time and hate watching something, So like I said, for their sake, I really hope something changes and changes soon, because if not, they're in trouble.
You're a football fan, right?
Yep.
I am too. Is AC?
I would think he is, but I don't know with all the stuff going on with the Giants. I don't know. He might be. He might not be lasting much longer, bro.
By the way, as a Redskins fan, thank you for taking that schmuck at 6, AC, because the good quarterback that you should have taken fell to me at 15. Thank you very much. Is General Stames a football fan?
Yeah, he's hardcore, dude. Big Steelers fan. Me and him were seriously. I don't think you knew about this, but me and him were talking about Rod Woodson and Mean Joe Green and a couple of the Steelers greats in the past on Twitter about a couple months ago.
Nice. So you know where I'm going with this. Monday Night Football. You're talking about AEW in October. How many of the 2 million, and we can call it 2 million, let's round down. They had 2.1 million on Monday night. Let's round down to 2 million. How many of those people are watching Monday Night Football this fall?
I would imagine a shitload of them. I would predict probably 70% of that number.
Really? 70%?
Yeah, football is it's seriously, between that and baseball, it's pretty much the biggest American sports. I mean, there's no denying it. Every single year, the Super Bowl and Monday Night Football and everything like that, it draws several million.
Oh, no doubt. That fantasy football drives it too.
Right, of course. Plus two, even I would even say the preseason might affect things, because I think this year, from the sounds of it, they're going to actually air more preseason games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I might have read the report wrong, but from the sounds of it, that's what's going to happen from the sounds of it. Because our local channels occasionally have the Steelers preseason. I don't know if the ones near you do. I mean, we're both in PA, obviously, but every once in a while they actually will have, the preseason games air on the local channels here, like Fox or, the CW. It's funny, too, because, like we said, hour 3, they got, like, 1.83 or something.
Yep.
That's going to be, I think, come October, that might even be a consistent number across all 3 hours. I mean, that's a scary thought to think about, but it's a strong possibility, I think.
Well, you're saying 70%. I mean, that's, what are we looking at, 1.4? So, whew.
I mean, that might be a bit of an exaggeration, but still, I mean, if you pose the question to somebody that likes both, I can almost guarantee you most people that like both wrestling and the NFL will choose the NFL that night. I would have to imagine most of the people will.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but recently, I don't know if you heard the show, but it was me, Stames, and AC. I think AC said he's going to go out on a limb and say by the end of the year they're going to sink under 2 million. And I said, because of the trend, I'm not going to fight you on that. If you think they're going to sink under 2 million by the end of the year, I think I'm with you. And Stames kind of disagreed. He wasn't sure. It was like 2 weeks ago that he said that.
Yeah.
We're not even at the end of the year. We're not even at summer. And we're staring under 2 million in the face. And they're not going to do anything. They're just going to book. Hey, player, there's 4 of you in the ring, so let's do tag match because 2 good guy, 2 bad guy. Well, no one's going to keep the show on because there's no story. It's 2 good guy, 2 bad guy. Meaningless. Dude. Meaningless. Oh, let's do Becky. Oh, Becky go out. Oh, Becky go out with 2 belt. Oh, good. What's the voice? I don't even know what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep doing it. Becky go out with 2 belt. Oh, you have Charlotte, and then you have other girl. Oh, they fight to see who fight Becky. There's no story. What are we going to do this week, guys? Well, let's do the same thing we did last week. Okay.
And I know we joke about this too, but they seriously do that. If you look at a lot of their results, that they really do actually redo stuff they did the previous week.
They did.
There's no way to like deny it.
Saint, they did what's the girl's Lacey? They did Lacey and Natty. It was last week. It was like the same thing. Becky's in the ring and all the girls come out and they're like, ah, da, da, ah, da, da. And then they have the match. And they did it again with Charlotte on the other show. It's like you're carbon copying the show. No one is going to watch it because you're giving them the setup at the beginning of the show or the beginning of the hour. They already know what's going to happen because it happened last week. It happened yesterday. They did the same thing. 2 good guy, 2 bad guy. Finn Balor and Ali win this time. Good guy win and good guy win. 2 good guy win, 2 good guy win. Like what?
Oh. Guess what? This is fresh off the heels of their superstar shakeup. Oh man. Ay, what a mess.
I'm befuddled. It's befuddling.
So much for big, refreshing matchups.
Yeah, how about it? How about it? So much for that is absolutely right. And you know what? You guys out there that worship the ground Vince McMahon walks on, I don't want to hear it. Yeah, but he was the filter for Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara. No, bullshit. Bullshit. Oh, he was the filter for Pat Patterson. Bullshit. He's still in charge, and look where we are. The lowest rating in history. Non-holiday. You know what they got for Christmas last year? 1.7 million.
Oh,
you know what they got for New Year's Eve this year? 1.8 million. That's the same people, the same amount of people stayed with them last night for Raw for the 3rd hour. It might as well have been New Year's freaking Eve. You're not going to worry about that and fix your booking and put something freaking interesting on it? Come on. Why?
If they don't change it around soon, I don't know. They're just never going to do it, I guess, apparently. I mean, it's very funny that they have 5 hours worth of programming, but it's the hardest struggle to get through. The last couple weeks, I've been watching Nitro and Thunder recaps, or I mean not recaps, like the reruns on the network. And I have such an easier time. I realize it doesn't have the commercials, of course, but I have such an easier time getting through a Nitro and Thunder the 5 hours than I do with the WWE programming.
Yeah.
And that's crazy considering the fact that I'm watching 1998. That's 21 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff is in the past. I have a general idea what's usually going to happen, but I'm still enjoying reruns of that and able to get through it a lot easier, way more than Raw and SmackDown, which is it's not good for them. That somebody like me could come on here and say that. I mean, dude, I was basically 6 years old in 1998.
Right.
And I'm watching this like I practically remember everything, picture for picture almost, and I'm enjoying that more despite knowing all that than watching something that's supposed to be brand new and that's live.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my God, dude, I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. I don't know what else to say.
I don't want to keep you for too long, but I actually have maybe one big question. Maybe it might be a two-part that I don't know if you want to save it for another episode or do you want to just do it now and we'll use that to close the show out.
What's the question? Let's hear the question and I'll tell you.
This might be a two-parter or maybe it might just be one depending on, where you land on it.
Okay.
I mean, in your opinion, like right now, what is the biggest problem with the wrestling business? And then, what is the biggest problem for a fan that's, a wrestling fan right now? Like, because I really would love to get your opinion on it. Maybe I'll give mine real quick as well after you give yours. Maybe it's up to you if you want to combine it into, two parts or just have it be one. It's up to you because it's kind of is a loaded question in a way.
I don't think there's a problem with the wrestling business as a whole. If there was a problem, I would say the problem is the monopoly currently called WWE. Because I really think if ROH was running head-to-head with Raw, I would watch ROH. If what I saw from the NWA, and I know it's kind of a company, kind of a roster, but not really. Okay, if they were running head-to-head versus WWE on Monday nights, I would watch NWA. If Impact was running head-to-head against Raw on Monday nights, I would watch Impact. The problem is that people are so far up the history of WWE that they can't see the forest for the trees. We just went through 2 shows back-to-back this week. Monday and Tuesday, and it was the same damn show. It was the same thing last week. People are turning off, and the problem with the wrestling business right now is Vince McMahon. I don't get it.
That's actually a very good point, honestly. And it's funny too. You mentioned the fact that people are so obsessed with WWE that because of the history of it and the fact that they've outlasted ECW, they've outlasted the WCW. Mm-hmm. That I think a lot of people they just won't even give smaller promotions a chance, which is an absolute shame because you're just missing out at that fucking point.
Right.
Because
and
you said it on air. You even messaged me before we went on air that there's just so much stuff that's better out there to watch that I don't know why people waste their time on this. I think to paraphrase what you messaged me with.
And that's part of the problem that they can't run head to head against Vince because he has this almighty empire built up and there's no way to do it. Impact is barely surviving on TV, and they're putting on a damn better show. I'll bet anybody. I will bet anybody. Put it down in the comments. But then, of course, if you're going to defend WWE, you actually have to go and watch Impact. But you can't because you're programmed every Monday night at 8 o'clock to be in your seat because Raw's on. Stone Cold isn't on the show anymore, everybody. You know what is on the show? Nonsense booking is on the show. That's what's on the show. I'm shocked that they're still getting 2 million people, to be completely honest. The way they've been booking, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's nuts, dude.
Now let me ask you, let me flip it to you. What do you think is the biggest problem in the business right now?
Well, you brought up a very good point with it actually being Vince McMahon in the WWE. I almost didn't really think about that, but it was kind of at the back of my mind. What I was actually going to say was actually it's almost, in a way, it's almost the opposite, but in a way, like it's partially because of WWE. I was going to say it's actually the overabundance of content. It's crazy because there's just so much out there between what WWE does. TNA just launched their own streaming service. Of course, there's Ring of Honor, there's New Japan, there's MLW, there's the NWA. You can go on and on.
Yep.
And it's
New
like
Japan,
there's just so much to digest that it's hard to. I almost feel like because of that, it almost makes it easy to get burnt out on it. And I think that might have been what happened with me, and maybe that's why you haven't heard from me in practically 3 weeks. Because, obviously we were coming out of the big WrestleMania season. That was a huge time, thing for us to invest a lot of time into. But at the same time, it's like there's so much other stuff going on that it becomes to the point where it's hard to even keep up with everything because there's just so many promotions. But I think because there's a lot of people that are in the mindset that there's only WWE and that's the almighty, end all be all, that I think maybe there's a lot of people that don't think in the same perspective I am,
Right.
Maybe it might just be some. But I will say though too, and this is why I said this might be a two-part question. I think the biggest actual problem for the actual fans, and this is probably mainly a problem for people your age and my age, I don't think it's really a problem for kids, but I think the hardest problem is enjoying it even though you realize, that it's scripted and all that. It's very hard to get out of that mindset of, knowing the business. And I think it's impossible almost to do it. And I'd love to even get your idea and opinion on how you would be able to do it. But I think the hardest thing, but it'd be something that would help all of us out, especially people our age, to still enjoy the stuff is, how do you deprogram yourself from that whole realm of thinking and still enjoy wrestling? And I don't even think you could do it because I think we're just too far gone. And I actually, envy, the younger fans that are like your kid or whatever. They don't really know any better. And in a way, it's almost better that they're not overthinking it and they're just enjoying it as what it is, But even despite all that, WWE is just so mind-numbingly boring right now that I think even if you try to, deprogram yourself like that, I don't know if I would still even enjoy it. I really don't.
All right, I know what you're saying, but I disagree with you. Okay, and I'll say it this way. The complete and utter goofiness and campiness of the Undead Realm in Impact. The addition of Madman Fulton into the storyline of OVE versus Rich Swann. The feud between Johnny Impact and Brian Cage on Impact, obviously. The Crockett Cup tournament over the weekend. Marty Scurll and Nick Aldis. Everything I just said, there are moments that I get from those companies. And pick any New Japan main event. Okay? Pick it and name it and you're in with me. You forget because of the performance that you're watching. What you're talking about, when I see good wrestling still to this day, I could stop watching the fact that somebody botched a move. I could stop watching for, is she hitting the ropes? Tessa Blanchard, great example. Tessa and Gail. That happened over the weekend. As I'm watching this stuff, I'm so sucked in. Rich Swann, sucked me into the storyline. I forgot what I was watching, Saint. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, I understand I'm watching pro wrestling. I understand it's scripted. I understand the matches, but the storylines suck me in. And if I'm getting a great performance, whether it's in ring or on the mic or in an acted scene, if you will, just for a couple minutes, I get sucked into it as if I'm watching any other TV show that would suck me in. The problem is I don't get it in WWE because I know what's going to happen. Because the way they book, there is no reason to watch any of those matches over the past 2 weeks. And of course, there's no storyline because they're trying to do this weird, let's be influenced by New Japan. Well, what do you mean, pal? Well, this is what they do, Dad. They have matches, So you have a contender, and he goes against the contender, and then the winner goes against the champ. That's what they do. It's like tournaments. Well, goddamn, pal, if Bobby's watching New Japan more than he's watching WWE, we'll give that to him. No, it doesn't work for WWE because that's not their business. That's not what they do. That's not the product that they have. This is the problem with them.
And maybe that cycles back to like you said, WWE being the problem, because they're obviously, if I'm saying this, they're not doing a good job of like getting me sucked in. And, maybe like a New Japan or a TNA, they might do a better job of doing that,
Mm-hmm.
So maybe this is me saying that maybe might be just me more of a WWE issue.
I think it is.
But I will say this, though. I think there are a lot of people that they do think that, though, that they have a hard time, like, kind of getting out of that realm of like overthinking the stuff. I mean, it's I think some people, like you said, you don't really have a hard time with it because of how good the quality is. But I think there's some people that even if the quality is real good, they just might, they might have a hard time really being able to enjoy something from that without thinking about that stuff.
Well, let me go against you here. You're trying to figure out, you're still trying to figure out where Bray Wyatt is going. But when we just talked about it on the Raw review that we did, it sounded like, 10-year-old Electric City Saint. A little bit. Because it seemed like you were sucked in a little bit, hanging on Bray's every word. What is going on here? Like, that's good performance, right?
Right, absolutely. Like that was pretty much the biggest highlight of the last couple of weeks.
Right. So we'll take the 10 minutes, probably 10 minutes or less, of Bray Wyatt, and we'll credit that to WWE. Good job for 10 minutes out of the last 10 hours of your programming. Good job. See, but that's the thing. That's why I've been enjoying Impact so much lately, because I'm into the storylines and everything. Like, there's no wasted minutes. If it's going backstage, it's going backstage for a reason. And if it's a face-to-face promo during an interview, like the old days, or somebody's getting beat up, dude, they're constantly beating each other up in the hallway. And you know what? It makes logical sense. Because if you have a performer that's in a feud with another performer and they're backstage, how hard would it be to find that guy and beat him up? It wouldn't be. That would be real. That would be something that you would do. If you're, let's just say you're feuding with AC, right? And y'all come to we'll go down there to Virginia for the big podcasting convention, and it's at Joe White's house. Are you gonna just show up and go on the show, or are you probably gonna have words with the guy that you don't like, or are you probably gonna fight with the guy that you don't like? Like, it's that simple. It's just that simple.
Right.
I don't know. I'm ranting at this point, but like, I mean,
yeah. Well, even it's like that even with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know a lot of people don't really care for the fact that they do a lot of tag team matches, 6-man tag, 8-man, 10-man. But at the same time, because of their, the faction system that they have there, the unit system, whatever you want to call it, that really, there's always a lot of storytelling, even with matches like that somebody might think is pointless. It's everything that they do has a reason and a point to it. Like, even, they'll have, chaos brawl with Los Ingobernables or, stuff like that. I mean, they don't waste a whole lot of emotions either with what the stuff they do. I mean, but I'll admit, like, I can understand why some people don't care for them because of the language barrier, which I don't think is that big of an issue anymore.
Mhm.
But also, obviously people aren't going to really care for a million tag team matches, but at the same time, the matches have a point and a reason to them. And with WWE, they don't.
And that's one of the things that they do great. Like when they're doing those 4-on-4 matches, like it might be two guys in a feud might be in there, but the whole team isn't feuding with each other. They always break off. There's always a spot in the match where the two guys that are feuding with each other start firing up the feud. You know what I mean? Like, because that's what would happen.
I almost wonder if WWE would benefit from some kind of like system like that, where they just have a bunch of factions, but they barely have any kind of trios, let alone factions.
All right,
that'd be asking too much.
I said it would be. It would be, but how hard would this be? Look, their ratings are in the gutter, right? They're in the toilet. Now we've seen this before, so I fully expect. I'll make a prediction. Next Monday night, he will come up with a reason to put Ric Flair on the screen and Shawn Michaels on the screen and Sting on the screen or whoever, because that's what he does.
Sting and Flair, but hey, I get your point.
but here's the thing: like, how hard would this be? Like, you could do it in one night. Like, if I were hit, if Vince was like, "Hey, pal, you talk a lot of shit about me. Why don't you give me a good idea that I could use?" I'd be like, "All right, Vince, how about this? Just off the top of my head, Vince, how about this? Monday night, why don't you do this? Why don't you have Roman show up at Raw? And I know you don't have a GM on Raw, but choose one because that's what you do. So how about it be you? Because he punched you in the face last week, right? How about this? How about you show up, you have him show up, and have you come out and be like, what are you doing here? Send him to the back, whatever. Get him out of here. So Roman goes into the back. And how about whatever main event you have booked for that night? How about you have, and this is just off the top of the head, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan show up, jump the rail, beat down whoever's in the main event, and then Roman Reigns comes out. And Hulk Hogan says, you know what? When I look at you, I see me. And he throws an NWO shirt at Roman Reigns. NWO lives again through Roman Reigns. You can have Hogan, Hall, and Nash hang around for like 3 weeks until Roman adds his own members. Do you think people would watch that?
Yeah, that would boost their ratings real quick, I think. It wouldn't even be that hard to do it. I mean,
there are so many things they could do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably complain that it's like, they're bringing back the NWO, but I think at the same time that would bring in people for sure right away.
It would be a heel turn, so if people didn't like it, all the better. Let's get heat on Roman Reigns. Let's do this. And then you can toy with that for, 6 months. Have him build his own and put the Usos in it. Have them run roughshod over everybody, interrupting the show. Just you want people watching the show. They don't do anything like that anymore. You don't even have to call it NWO. You could there's so many things that you can do. He has 50 people back there that are apparently creative writers. I gotta think somebody is coming up with material like that. Or, hey, Vince, how about a new faction? How about we put Samoa Joe with, we'll bring Ziggler back as the leader, but meanwhile, we could build up this faction with Joe, and we turn Kurt Hawkins heel, and then, whatever, man. You throw Alexa Bliss in it, come up with a creative name, give them a reason why they're going to take over WWE, and out comes Dolph, he's the leader, and boom, there you have a faction. Why can't they do it? You know why? Because it's pro wrestling. That's why. You have
I also wonder sometimes if they just think that, that would be too complex for people like you and me.
Well, it wasn't too complex when 10 million people were watching the show. I mean, oh, dude, I don't. And, people always complain, attitude error, brawn panty. Don't worry about the brawn panty. You don't even have to do that. You don't even have to curse. You don't have to go TV 14 to come up with some stuff. They did it with the Nexus. Why don't they do it again? How about that? How about Aleister Black? How about that? What he's teasing right now in these vignettes backstage, where he's talking about the abyss in his eyes. What if his end game is to bring up whatever undisputed era? He's the magical fifth member. I don't know. It doesn't even make sense, but you can make it make sense. And they start running roughshod over and the whole SmackDown show or whatever show he's on. Would that be so hard? How about you just have Adam Cole show up? Oh my God, it's Adam Cole. Don't announce it. Don't announce it. Just have Undisputed Era show up and beat down freaking Kofi. Would that be so hard? You think people would want to see Kofi and Adam Cole? No. Dude, I can go on and on with this stuff. It's like, and you could, and everybody listening could go on and on. There's so many things you can think of, but for some reason, they just refuse to do any of it.
No, they don't, and it's sad, but for real, if they whenever they debut the Undisputed Era, they should do something like that, like you just said, because I'd like to see them even be like the Flock, basically, where they just randomly show up in the audience, and then all of a sudden, they jump the barricade and start beating on Reigns or AJ or whoever the hell, it don't matter who, but
right.
They would get a big pop, I think, for that. It'd be pretty cool to see. It'd be very similar to that, or even similar to the Shield, kind of.
Here's one off the top of the head, because you just said AJ. Would this get you back into watching WWE? Let me ask you this, okay? You got Finn Balor in Money in the Bank match. Okay, so let's do this. Let's have Doc and Carl run out and help Finn. He wins Money in the Bank. Okay? That night, whoever Kofi's fighting, which would be Kevin Owens, let's have that go on first. Kofi wins. You have Balor cash in on him with the help of Doc and Carl. You have Finn go over Kofi. Now he has 2 belts. And then when AJ wrestles Seth in the next match, you have Balor, Carl, and Doc help AJ. Now all of a sudden you have something called that looks like Bullet Club holding 3 titles. How would that be? Would you turn back on? AJ as the leader with Finn and Doc and Carl under him.
Oh, they'd have me right by the throat if they did that. I for sure, I definitely would. And I've been begging on this channel. I think I've even been begging with it since we did the original, Blading for Truth episode I was on many years back. I was saying, please, please, please turn Balor heel. Give me a reason to get invested in this guy besides this blank, boring, just whatever he is. Seriously, that would get me invested. And I also really I would love to see them actually do some form of Bullet Club reunion like that, but it almost seems like they're purposely trying to avoid it, because every time they have these shakeups, they move Balor and AJ to the opposite shows, and it also seems like they never really ever had Doc and Carl there. They really haven't actually had them really do a whole lot with AJ and really acknowledge that. You could even have it just be those 3. You don't necessarily even have to have AJ in it, but the 4 of them really as a big faction would be amazing. And they refuse to do it for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because they don't want to get too much attention to the Bullet Club stuff or what the hell it is, but it's sad because it writes itself, honestly. What you just said would be pretty much perfect.
Yepper. I don't know. And who knows? I mean, there's 1,000 other different things you can do, and they just won't do it. How about a woman's faction? They're pushing away. How about a real woman's faction? How about you put what do they call it? The 4 horsewomen of NXT?
4 horsewomen, yeah.
Why don't you put them together?
And all them.
Just put them together.
Yeah, I would like to see that with Ronda Rousey at the head of it too when she comes back, and have the 4 of them.
Well, like you said, the 4 versus the 4. They could have did that. They won't do it.
Yep. I actually, to be honest with you, them 4, versus Sasha, Bayley, Becky, Charlotte. I actually would have rather them done that match this year, and just not necessarily have it be the main event, but that 8-woman tag would have been better than what we ended up getting, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. My goodness. And I'm sure, like I said, If I can come up with some of that, I'm sure everybody else can come up with some of that. Put it in the comments. How can they get ratings? Put it in the comments. Let us know your ideas. Just throw anything out there. I'm sure Saint, give me one. What are you going to do? Vince comes to you and he's like, give me one angle, pal. Give me one angle to run with on Monday so you watch the damn show already. What are you going to tell him?
What we just said, the Bullet Club thing. I think that you don't even have to call it the Bullet Club. I know that basically because of the rights they can't do that, but at the same time you could still kind of acknowledge all that back history and all that, and have them just totally dominate the whole, the whole entire company for a couple months. Like you said, put the tag titles on, Doc and Carl, and then maybe have the other two have a belt each and just run roughshod on the whole entire company. I mean, I think it'd be good TV.
Yeah, Cole was in it. You could bring just Cole up by himself and do it. Have him as the the fifth guy. Whatever. I mean, why did they get them then? If they're not gonna use them like that, it's weird.
Yeah, because you would hope they would have realized how hot all that stuff was, and that was the reason why they brought them in. But apparently, all that stuff, all the millions of T-shirts sold and all that totally went over their heads. Apparently,
I guess. You know what would piss people off too, if you want to get them over as heels? Build the foundation with the 4 guys you have. Maybe you bring in Cole. There's 5, and then you have Roman Reigns join them. Imagine him going full live. People would be like, no. Have AJ too sweet and Roman. Could you imagine?
Yeah, but God forbid, apparently we're not, because he has had cancer, he'll never get booed, apparently.
Right. Well, yeah. Oh, man. Do you have anything else to say? That's way too much wrestling.
No, I think that's going to do it for me for tonight. I actually was very surprised we went as long as we did, but, every once in a while, you and me come together, we actually have some pretty damn good conversations. Sometimes we might go 5 minutes, sometimes we might go 2 hours. You never know what you're going to get on this channel.
It's true. That is true. So